What was supposed to be a night of celebration turned into disaster after 4 friends who were all drunk left the bar in the city without a designated driver. Designate a driver. Don't drink and drive.
This is your news source evening bulletin for today, Thursday, the 30th day of January in the year 2025. I'm Gordon Mosley reporting, and here's what we're tracking tonight. Opposition leader Norton brought the curtains down this evening on the opposition's arguments in the 2025 budget debates. Mr. Norton said the $1.3 trillion budget fails to address the fundamental issues affecting citizens of Guyana, while the government continues to spend from the oil fund with no transparency.
It is a slush fund and a recipe for waste and illegal enrichment. There is the poor allocation of resources, especially the over-focus on infrastructure at the expense of the development of our human resources and the working people of Guyana. More importantly, it is not guided by a well-thought-out vision. It is the lumping together of projects that do not constitute a national plan.
The opposition leader said an APNU-led government would develop a people-centered development strategy that would allow for the effective use of the country's resources. He also told the National Assembly that the opposition has long signaled its intention to engage ExxonMobil in keeping with the production sharing agreement to make changes with the aim of putting more resources in the hands of the people of Guyana. According to Norton, the 2025 budget presented by the Irfan Ali administration does not put sufficient money into the hands of citizens. Further criticizing the budget as one with a lot of piecemeal measures, Mr. Norton spoke of his plans to lower taxes, including the value-added tax, a move he believes could see approximately $34 billion being placed into the hands of citizens. Norton also told the House that it was as a result of increasing pressure placed on the government by the opposition that Guyanese are now benefiting from that $100,000 cash grant. Earlier during today's debates, Government Chief Whip Gail Teixeira defended the government's budget, telling the National Assembly that it will undoubtedly improve the socio-economic status of all Guyanese through policies that will make life easier and uplift their standard of living. Minister Teixeira said the tax measures alone will increase the disposable income of thousands of Guyanese and will directly impact homes.
So $100,000 for every newborn baby, $1.3 billion it'll cost. The fact that people are also looking forward to the $10,000 per child in terms of income tax, that they're non-taxable. So those that have 5 children will have $50,000 a month, times 12 months, you calculate it, of being able to deduct from your income tax. These are things that people are welcoming. The $100,000 moved to $130,000 for the threshold, costing about $8.5 billion in the budget, adds another 22,000 people to not be part of the tax net. That's in addition to the ones last year that came off the tax net.
Trading blame, Minister Teixeira accused the APNU-AFC government of mismanaging the country's resources between 2015 to 2020. 5 years later, she said, the coalition has opted to criticize the good policies being piloted by the current government, instead of providing critical support necessary for the development of the country.
APNU-AFC has to decide, which side are you on? Progress, development? Or are you going to continue? And we all know the answer to that. Unless you have a revolution or coup inside your group, which I know will not happen, that or do you want to continually be in this position of holding back progress of our country, of being the spoiler? You're a bunch of spoilers. Because when Chagan took up critical support, we supported the foreign policy, we supported things, and we criticized you for rigging elections. You are incapable of bringing up a critical support at what we did. Holding back progress, holding back, and trying to holding back people's progress. You know, the Guyanese people have seen it, smelt it, seen change, and they want more, and they will get more out of the People's Progressive Party Civic.
The governance minister concluded that Guyanese are experiencing progress in their individual lives and do not want to return to a place of regression. Budget 2025 totals $1.382 trillion, and that's 20.6% larger than last year's fiscal package. More news coming up in just a moment.
It all starts with one. Maybe it's one look, you know the one, or one touch, even one word. It can start with one step, or one promise, one thrill, one first time, one deep breath, one leap of faith, one day to remember, or one night to forget. One moment, so many stories that make up one crazy, average, everyday, fabulous life. We get one life, just one. Make your move. It all starts with one.
Your own home is so much more than just four walls, floors, and ceilings. It's a lifetime of great memories and stories. Come talk to us and start your journey home today.
Republic Bank, we're the one for you.
Honey, what were you doing? Let's cash out. Let's cash out.
Shop $5,000 or more at any Massey stores for a chance to win a 2024 Nissan Qashqai Sense and $100,000 every 2 weeks with Massey Stores Christmas Jackpot Promotion.
In December 2019, Guyana embarked on a historic journey, producing oil offshore for the very first time with the Liza Destiny FPSO, delivering 120,000 barrels per day. Today, just 5 years later, the nation stands proud as the fastest growing economy in the world. With the addition of 2 more FPSOs, production has increased to approximately 650,000 barrels per day.
Guyana is on the verge of becoming a global destination for sports and culture. Through investments backed by the oil and gas sector, which exceed $3.7 billion Guyana dollars, Guyanese get access to infrastructure and skills training for various sporting activities. The synergy between the economic benefits of the oil operations offshore and support for national initiatives helps position Guyana more favorably on an international stage.
Welcome to Dinner Under the Stars. Indulge in a culinary feast prepared by our talented chefs, featuring locally sourced ingredients and exquisite flavors. Every bite will take you on a culinary journey, from unforgettable starters to delectable desserts. Relax to the soothing sounds of the stylistics and blue magic as the stars twinkle above, creating the perfect ambience for a romantic evening or memorable gathering. Join us for Dinner Under the Stars. Reserve your table today and create memories that will last a lifetime.
In the health sector now, Minister of Health Dr. Frank Anthony and Opposition Member of Parliament Dr. Karen Cummings went head-to-head in the National Assembly last evening over the shortage of nurses in the country. The Georgetown Public Hospital alone is in need of more than 700 nurses. With 6 new hospitals under construction, the opposition Member of Parliament, Dr. Karen Cummings, said the issue will become more problematic. During her budget debate contribution, she said although the government is aware of scores of nurses leaving their jobs to take up positions overseas, it has not done enough to stop the hemorrhaging that is taking place and that is affecting the healthcare system.
It is not surprising, yet it's worrisome, because the data shows that we now have 23 nurses for every 10,000. These are the facts that the government hides from the Guyanese people and public so that they cannot recognize and understand the risk that is involved in their medical care. Without enough nurses, no amount of cash grants will bring you to the care that you and your family need.
According to Dr. Cummings, a shortage of nurses could have been addressed properly if the government had taken the issue seriously from the beginning and find a way to properly compensate nurses and other healthcare workers.
I want to state it is a consequence of the decline in the availability of healthcare assets and providers that there is the experience or this experience and an occurrence. However, given the track record of this government, one is left to wonder about the correlation. Universal access to health care. Mr. Speaker, it's not a secret that primary health care must be the pillar of the nation's health strategy and should take center stage if universal health coverage is to be achieved. The national public health system has an obligation to deliver public health services to the citizens of Guyana, regardless of whether they reside on the coastline or hinterland.
The government has been admitting more trainees to the nursing schools and overlooking the graduation of more nurses. The Health Minister, Dr. Frank Anthony, while acknowledging the problem of the shortage of nurses, said it was the current government that took steps to get more nurses trained and in the system.
Mr. Speaker, they talk about nurses. Who you think increased the salary for the nurses?
The People's Progressive
Party increased the salary for nurses. And right now, we have 3,000 and more persons who would be graduating soon from nursing, assistant nursing program, and others. This year, we are also going to take in another 3,000 people.
Dr. Anthony said over 500 community healthcare workers have also been trained to assist at the local level, even as he boasted about the remarkable success for his sector. The health minister said healthcare in Guyana has been expanding and improving rapidly under his watch with the support of the government. He said there will be more expansion moving forward to ensure more access for more citizens. Minister of Housing and Water Colin Croal has indicated that his ministry has achieved at least 95% of its work plan since 2020, and he is confident that the remaining 5% will be achieved in the coming months. Contributing to the 2025 budget debates, Minister Croal chided the opposition's housing record and stated that the sector was at a standstill during the previous government. He said the robustness of the housing sector since 2020 is due to the critical investments that the current government has been making in housing and water as it moves ahead with its community development plans.
We have allocated a total of, listen good, 40,808 residential house lots. And Mr. Speaker, that does not include allocations for commercial and industrial lots. Mr. Speaker, we have completed infrastructure works in over 50 new housing areas and existing schemes. We have installed over 3,123 LED lights on the western east bank and coast in Berbice.
In listing some of the other achievements of the Ministry of Housing, Minister Croal said the Housing Ministry was also responsible for the completion of major highways on the east bank of the Marara and the west bank of the Marara, as well as the introduction of housing subsidies and grants for vulnerable communities. He said the Ministry of Housing succeeded in reducing squatter and unregulated settlements and opening new housing areas in almost every region.
These are our achievements to date. We still have a few months to go. They are real achievements. They are real fulfillment of the promises we made to the people of Guyana. They trusted us and we have delivered. Today, Our government is working tirelessly to ensure that every Guyanese has access to affordable and sustainable housing and to a reliable supply of clean and safe water.
In response, Opposition Member of Parliament Annette Ferguson said the government's housing program seems to be haphazard with no formal planning.
Mr. Speaker, the urgency of a strategic approach, Mr. Speaker, to housing cannot be overstated. Our communities deserve tangible action and leadership that moves beyond temporary photo ops. It is imperative, Mr. Speaker, that we hold our representatives, the people of Guyana, must hold that government responsible or accountable when it comes to housing development.
Ferguson proposed a coherent housing plan, which should entail sustainable communities and faster response time for persons who apply for house lots. Still with housing, Opposition Member of Parliament Annette Ferguson has called on the government to not just issue house lots, but to ensure those lots are ready for the start of construction. On Wednesday, MP Ferguson told the National Assembly that while the government boasts of allocating 41,000 house lots since 2020, the majority of those allottees have not seen their lots, which remain in undeveloped areas. She said there are thousands of allottees still awaiting their agreements of sale, even after paying millions to the Housing Ministry.
So for you to come to the House to say to the people of Guyana that you have allocated some 50,000 house lots is far from the truth. Mr. Speaker, the evidence will show. The evidence will show, Mr. Speaker. All right, you're going to see just now. Oh, Lord, these things. Mr. Speaker, how can 50,000 house lots be given out when you have people 2010 waiting, never receive a call from the ministry, 2009 waiting, 2011 waiting? These are the evidence of people, Mr. Speaker, who are yet to receive a call from the Ministry of Housing to be given their house lot. And I know that the honorable member, the ministry never issued out 50,000 house lots.
Ferguson also accused the government of including in its figures house lots and housing units that were allocated under the APNU-AFC administration. She said the Ministry of Housing and Water continues to fail to present any report on squatter settlements or informal settlements, as it promised it would 3 years ago.
The ministry claimed to have developed a total of 85 new housing schemes. But Mr. Speaker, I challenge Mr. Croal this afternoon to lay a list of all 85 new housing schemes that they developed, Mr. Speaker.
She also said in places like Labone and Tension on the east coast of the Marara, many of the housing units are incomplete and have a number of defects and remain unoccupied. She accused the government of boasting of unfinished works and allocating lots with no access to the lands.
But Mr. Speaker, this is what is currently happening in LBI. Unfinished work. Unfinished work, Mr. Speaker. Unfinished work, Mr. Speaker. Unfinished work, Mr. Speaker.
Ferguson said while the Ali administration continues to accuse the former APNU-AFC government of not doing anything for the housing sector, the records will point to housing developments in LBI, Prospect, Cummings Lodge, Providence, Monrepo, Experiment, and Skeldon. She said when the coalition took office in 2015, it inherited a backlog of 60,000 applications, and it did its best to reduce that number.
Let me remind the Honorable Croal and Rodriguez that the housing sector has a revolving housing fund. And rather than us coming to this National Assembly between 2015 and 2020, we utilized the funds from the housing funds to correct many of the defects that we found in the housing sector.
Going forward, the APNU-AFC is recommending that there should be the introduction of a rent-to-own system, which would allow persons to pay a monthly rent in the place of a mortgage until the total cost of the house is covered.
Welcome to Dinner Under the Stars. Indulge in a culinary feast prepared by our talented chefs, featuring locally sourced ingredients and exquisite flavors. Every bite will take you on a culinary journey, from unforgettable starters to delectable desserts. Relax to the soothing sounds of the stylistics and blue magic as the stars twinkle above, creating the perfect ambience for a romantic evening or memorable gathering. Join us for dinner under the stars. Reserve your table today and create memories that will last a lifetime.
Your own home is so much more than just four walls, floors, and ceilings. It's a lifetime of great memories and stories. Come talk to us and start your journey home today.
Republic Bank, we're the one for you.
Ready to up your game? Ready to up your game? Win big with over 60 epic prizes. A brand new PS5, Nintendo Switch, iPhone 16 Pro Max, Apple smartwatch, and the hottest earbuds from Apple and Samsung. Plus, we are giving away thousands in phone credit and a whole year supply of Buster or Turbo Energy drink. Here's how. Buy any Buster or Turbo Energy drink, find the code starting with BB and enter online or on WhatsApp. Visit us on Facebook or Instagram at Turbo_Caribbean or Buster Guyana for all the details. Don't just play. Up your game with Buster and Turbo Energy.
Now to Public Works. The Minister of Public Works, Juan Edgel, has stated that this year's national budget is packed with initiatives and measures that will be of benefit to all citizens, especially the poor. He said many of the initiatives will see the infrastructural transformation of a number of communities, villages, and towns. During his budget contribution, the minister said the budget will also fast-track a number of infrastructural projects, both in the hinterland and the coastland.
Mr. Speaker, the monies that are allocated in budget 2025 for the Ministry of Public Works will see a significant continuation of what was started in 2020. No one single budget can be a silver bullet and an answer for everything. But if you look at the strategic implementation of the PPPC's economic policy, you would recognize that we are strategic, we are purposeful, and more than anything else, we are focused on pro-poor, pro-people initiatives.
And in speaking about the achievements of his ministry, Minister Edgel noted that from 2020 to 2024, some 4,322 kilometers of roads were constructed, while 150 bridges were rehabilitated and another 66 bridges were maintained. For the same period, he said 25,783 kilometers of sea and river defense were constructed, while another 378,758 kilometers maintained.
In the history of government, I don't believe we've ever had a government that has been so active in communities, a president that is so active, ministers that are so active, and we don't just listen, we respond.
Further, Minister Edgel said the budget will also provide a platform to link several interior regions to coastland regions.
Because of that transportation link that will become more accessible, the cost of development in those communities will be significantly reduced. People will have better homes, there will be better infrastructure, and the livelihoods of people will be improved, and the cost of food will also go down. The cost of living for the people of Region 9 will be reduced just by improving that road link.
He noted that infrastructural works are ongoing in almost every region, with small and medium-scale contractors undertaking many of those big projects. Controversial and defiant representative of the Joinder party list in the National Assembly, Dr. Asha Kissoon of the New Movement, has offered her full support for the government's $1.3 trillion budget, declaring that the time for divisive politics must come to an end. Dr. Kissoon, who sits on the opposition side of the National Assembly, has been accused of illegally occupying the parliamentary seat and refusing to give it up.
Over the last few days, we've heard the words friends, families, and favorites. When will we stop victimizing the hard-working people of Guyana? There have been hundreds, if not thousands, of contracts given in different varying ministries and governments. And these are persons who have worked hard, put in their bids, irregardless of which party they voted for. Now they're being victimized by our opposition by accusing them of being favorites of government, and that's the only reason they're doing work in our country, to build their own nation with their own hard-earned taxpayers' dollars. I would like to recognize that this is unfair to them, and we should not victimize our Guyanese people by accusing them of being friends, favorites, and family for the hard work that they are doing.
The other members of the opposition walked out of her parliamentary speech. Under the Joinder agreement, Kissoon should have been in National Assembly for just a few months and should have made way for another representative of the list to take up the seat. She has been in the Assembly for more than a year and has refused to speak on that issue. However, she focused much of her contribution this morning to the health sector. She said advances have been ongoing in the sector under the current government.
Cancer statistics have risen drastically globally, and Guyana should not be left behind when it comes to comprehensive care, including palliative care for our citizens. The cervical cancer screening vouchers have helped thousands of women in Guyana, myself included, and this initiative must be recognized. To the Minister of Health, I thank you for doing this for us. There are now ultrasound care being offered at primary health care centers, and there are advances in laboratory services.
Turning her attention to the housing and water sector, Dr. Kissoon said she is also pleased with the development in the sector, and she's pleased with the allocation of house lots.
Bureaucratic hurdles and financial constraints. I urge this House to consider reducing the minimum age for applying for government land from 21 to 18. I'm aware that this is an issue that has been debated many times, but young people should have the right to invest in their future early and contribute to national development. To make this a reality, the government could consider introducing interest-free loans for first-time young landowners, backed by state guarantees, and further subsidize land pricing for youth applicants. We're building a great nation for them, and they must be given the means to participate in that process.
She said young people are sometimes locked out of opportunities for land ownership due to bureaucratic hurdles and financial constraints. Kissoon praised the infrastructural projects that are expected to be executed this year, and also heaped praise on the cost of living measures that are intended to bring relief to citizens. On the police blotter, bandits were able to cart off an undisclosed sum of money in a late-night break-in at Andrew's Supermarket at Robin Light Street here in Georgetown. A statement from the Guyana Police Force said 2 metal safes belonging to MoneyGram, which operates an outlet in the building, and the quantity of cash from the cash registers were stolen during the break-in. There are no suspects at this time, the police reported. The store manager told investigators that he was the last person to leave the business place after locking it down at around 10 o'clock on Wednesday night. He said upon his return to the building this morning, his attention was drawn to the doors of the storage barn being opened. Upon investigation, the police said the store manager reported that a section of the roof to that storage barn had been cut open. The man said a check in the supermarket found cash registers damaged and dumped on the floor. All of the cash registers were emptied of an undisclosed sum of cash. The police said checks to the second floor of the building, where the MoneyGram outlet is located, revealed 2 metal safes that contained a large sum of cash missing. The manager said the safes were secured in the MoneyGram office. Police investigators visited the scene of the crime and interviewed a number of persons in the area. The police also explained that there were no security officers attached to the business place. Tonight, the investigations are ongoing. Assistant Commissioner of Police Calvin Brutus, who is currently on administrative leave as he fights more than 260 financial crimes charges, has accused agents of the state and the police of surveilling his movements and trailing his vehicle. This afternoon, Mr. Brutus released a video recording on his social media page that captured the moments that he was being trailed by an unmarked police car. At one stage, Mr. Brutus, in an effort to confirm that he was being followed, made a number of random turns into different streets, and the car continued to trail him. He eventually stopped and exited his vehicle and confronted the driver of the car, who came out of the unmarked police car holding a phone in his hands, recording the embattled assistant commissioner. The driver was identified as the head of the Special Branch Department of the police force, Promotional.
Right, so, see, they're following here now, see. So stopped here. I'm gonna go and confront them because they're lit. Obviously they're following me. So let's find out the reason. So, what's we have here? Yeah, man. No, stop following me, Premier. You stop following me. You understand what I'm saying?
I have no interest in
stop
following you.
following me. You following me.
Stop following me. Because I see you videoing me.
Stop following me.
That's why I call the police station.
In a statement, Mr. Brutus said the state of Guyana's unlawful continuation of surveilling him and his family remains a failure. And on Thursday, the failure took a major blow as none other than the head of the Special Branch, Superintendent Prem Narayan's cover, was blown. Brutus also reported that there was another rank who was posing as a taxi driver at the Haslington Road front on the east coast of Demerara, and who had been carrying out surveillance of him and his family's movements. Brutus said the blown covers of the Special Branch operatives and their inability to conduct undetected surveillance puts them and civilians at risk. 2 days ago, Mr. Brutus also published photographs on social media of two other unmarked police vehicles that he said had been trailing him and carrying out surveillance of his movements. As he faces a mountain of money laundering and other charges before the magistrates' court, Mr. Brutus has also dragged the government and the police force to the High Court over the police force's diversity policy, which he said is discriminatory and seeks to hire and promote more Indo-Guyanese in the force. He also recently filed a lawsuit against the state over the establishment of a discipline tribunal to probe complaints against him that are related to the same charges he's already facing before the magistrates' court. The members of that tribunal and the Police Service Commission were also named in that court action.
Guyana's economy is rapidly transforming, and we're all part of it. Guyoil is at the forefront of this development by providing reliable and efficient energy and supporting community development from the very core. 100% of Guyoil's profit goes back to building schools, roads, and other important infrastructure that connects our cities and towns, providing fuel to domestic, marine, industrial, and aerial transportation. Guyoil has now repositioned itself as a market leader in the petroleum industry, building a better future for all of us.
What was supposed to be a night of celebration turned into disaster after 4 friends who were all drunk left the bar in the city without a designated driver. Designate a driver. Don't drink and drive.
It all starts with one. Maybe it's one look, you know the one, or one touch, even one word. It can start with one step, or one promise, one thrill, one first time, one deep breath, one leap of faith, one day to remember, or one night to forget. One moment, so many stories that make up one crazy, average, everyday, fabulous life. We get one life, just one. Make your move. It all starts with one.
With your regional and international news tonight, I am Svetlana Marshall in the region. Reuters, in a report, said Panamanian President Jose Raul Mulino on Thursday ruled out discussing control over the Panama Canal in a meeting with U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who is set to visit the Central American country in his first official trip abroad this weekend. Mulino's comments during a weekly press conference come after U.S. President Donald Trump threatened to take control of the canal, claiming that it is being operated by China. The Panamanian government strongly denies the accusation. 51-mile artificial waterway that connects the Pacific and Atlantic Oceans and is key to global trade flows is operated by the Panama Canal Authority, an autonomous agency overseen by the Panamanian government. The United States built the canal in the early 20th century and handed control to Panama in 1999, 2 decades after signing a set of treaties guaranteeing its permanent neutrality. Authorities are investigating a tragic discovery after 19 individuals were found dead aboard a vessel drifting off the coast of Nevis. The St. Kitts and Nevis Defense Force Coast Guard located the vessel shortly before noon on January 29, following reports about a craft floating without apparent direction or control in territorial waters. Upon boarding the vessel, the Coast Guard personnel made the grim discovery of 19 deceased individuals. The identities of the victims remain unknown at this time, and authorities have not yet released information about the vessel's origin or intended destination. The boat has been towed to St. Kitts, where investigators are working to determine the circumstances that led to the tragedy. And finally tonight, international news. President Donald Trump implied without evidence federal diversity efforts were at fault on Thursday after a regional jet crashed into a U.S. Army helicopter at Washington Airport, killing 6 to 7 people in the deadliest U.S. air disaster in more than 20 years. According to Reuters, the investigation into the crash in the nation's capital has just begun, and it was not yet clear why the American Airlines jet carrying 60 passengers and 4 crew members collided with the Army Black Hawk helicopter as it prepared to land at Reagan Washington National Airport. The U.S. Transportation Secretary said both aircraft had been flying standard flight patterns and there had been no breakdown in communication. Radio communications show that air traffic controllers alerted the helicopter about the jet and ordered it to change course. There is no evidence that efforts to make the federal workforce more diverse have compromised air safety. And that's your News Source Evening Bulletin for tonight. I'm Svetlana Marshall, wishing you a pleasant evening.